6:47 p.m., Windsor's gates slammed shut on Camilla's own son. Why? Stay with us to hear the very words William used to spark a palace revolt. Tonight's story might reshape the monarchy forever. We're revealing what really happened when Prince William blocked Tom Parker Bowles from entering Britain's most prestigious charity event. Palace insiders call it the most explosive royal confrontation since Diana's death. What you're about to discover will change everything you think you know about William's vision for the crown. At 6:47 p.m., security watches in horror as a black Range Rover approaches the castle gates. Tom Parker Bowles, Queen Camilla's son, prepares for another routine royal gala. Instead, he faces an unprecedented denial from the Prince of Wales himself. William's security team delivered instructions so strict they shocked even senior palace staff. But what drove William to take such drastic action? Guards refused entry as Tom's car idled at the entrance. He demanded explanations. Palace security stood firm, their earpieces crackling with commands from the heir to the throne. Witnesses described Tom's confusion turning to anger, his voice rising as realization dawned. This wasn't protocol, this was personal. Next, the four words that ignited a royal war. You won't believe them. At 6:43 p.m., just 4 minutes earlier, William delivered his orders. Palace sources reveal he used these exact words: "I don't accept him." The statement echoed through Windsor's corridors like a shot fired across the royal divide. Senior aides scrambled to understand what prompted such severity. Royal historian Dr. James Morton explains it bluntly. This isn't just exclusion, it's erasure from the future monarchy. William stood at his office window watching the East Gate. He'd calculated this moment for weeks, tracking Tom's media appearances, studying his interviews. Each casual comment about King Charles's health fed William's growing concern. The future king saw more than just protocol breaches. He saw threats to the crown's carefully managed narrative. Tom reached for his phone. Sources say he texted senior royal advisors, demanding immediate intervention. No response came. The message was clear. William had unified the palace behind his decision. Even longtime staff who'd known Tom since childhood couldn't override this command. Those four words shattered decades of protocol. Next, the fallout that stunned even the king. Queen Camilla was already inside the castle, greeting dignitaries when an aide approached. Witnesses describe her face draining of color, her hand briefly trembling before she straightened her spine. Body language expert Sarah Chen analyzed the footage. Notice how Camilla touches her throat, a subconscious gesture of vulnerability. Her jaw tightens. This woman is processing deep betrayal. Camilla maintained composure for exactly 17 minutes, long enough to excuse herself politely. She retreated to a private chamber where staff heard her quiet sobs. Palace insiders reveal she made only one request: find my son. But finding him wouldn't solve the larger crisis brewing behind Windsor's walls. King Charles received the news while reviewing charitable initiatives. Sources describe his immediate response as thunderous silence. He canceled his evening commitments, locking himself in his study. For the next 5 hours, Charles would wrestle with the impossible choice between supporting his wife and backing his heir. William conducted the charity gala with calculated precision. He thanked Camilla publicly for her dedication to the crown. Yet observers noted his body language when mentioning family unity. The tightened grip on his speech notes, the microsecond of hesitation before each platitude. The prince wasn't just hosting an event, he was demonstrating his authority. Behind the scenes, palace machinery shifted into crisis mode. PR teams drafted statements while legal advisors reviewed protocols. Had William overstepped? Sources confirm no. The future king possessed full authority to determine guest lists at events under his patronage. But had he fractured the family beyond repair? Royal correspondent Victoria Hamilton warns viewers, this wasn't impulsive action. William spent weeks building consensus among senior advisors. He turned Tom's casual media appearances into evidence of unsuitability. By the time that Carr reached the gates, William had already won the palace war. Late that night, Charles attempted reconciliation. Sources describe emotional confrontations where both Camilla and William refused to yield. The king found himself caught between his wife's maternal instincts and his son's royal pragmatism. Aides report Charles paced his study until dawn, still seeking a solution that would preserve both family and monarchy. Tom eventually received a call. Not from family, but from his own children, worried by news reports. Palace sources reveal he briefly considered making a public statement, but ultimately chose silence. His closest friends describe him as devastated but determined not to fuel more drama. What they don't reveal is Tom's private vow. I'll never put myself in this position again. The immediate aftermath sent shockwaves through royal circles. Extended family members who'd assumed automatic access suddenly questioned their status. Annabelle Elliot, Camilla's sister and longtime royal interior designer, received notice that her Windsor contracts wouldn't renew. William's restructuring had begun before the dust settled. Was William justified? How will Charles broker peace? Don't miss our exclusive insider answer. Charles's peacemaking began 48 hours later with a private family summit at Balmoral. Sources described tense negotiations where Camilla demanded Tom's reinstatement, while William insisted on maintaining boundaries. The king proposed a compromise. Tom could attend family Christmas at Sandringham, but would face scrutiny at all future official events. The settlement satisfied no one completely. Camilla gained Christmas access for her children, but lost the broader integration she'd championed for years. William secured his precedent about royal event protocols while accepting minimal family concessions. Charles preserved surface unity while knowing the foundations remained shaken. You can feel the shock. What would you do if you were Camilla? Yet this crisis revealed William's broader strategy for modernizing the monarchy. Palace insiders explain he's drafting new protocols that clearly separate official royal business from family connections. Blood relations won't guarantee royal access. Adherence to strict behavioral standards will. Some praise this clarity. Others fear it isolates the crown from human connection. Tom Parker Bowles resumed his food critic career with remarkable dignity. He appeared on television shows, launched a new cookbook, and traveled extensively, all without mentioning the Windsor incident. Yet colleagues notice subtle changes. He politely declines invitations to discuss royal family matters. His London social circle notes increased caution about paparazzi presence. The man seems determined to prove himself worthy through achievement rather than proximity to power. The charity event itself proceeded magnificently, raising record funds for chosen causes. Attendees praised the organization while carefully avoiding family drama in their public comments. Yet private conversations buzzed with speculation. Senior society figures began reassessing their own relationships with various royal family members. Whose invitations might be rescinded next? Security protocols tightened dramatically across all royal venues. Guest lists now require direct approval from senior royals, not just administrative staff. Background checks intensified, focusing particularly on media connections and public statements. Some view these changes as long overdue. Others see them as symptomatic of William's increasing control. Queen Camilla adapted with characteristic resilience. She maintained her extensive charitable work while visibly separating her public role from her maternal concerns. Palace photographers notice she now rarely mentions her children in public appearances. When she does, remarks focus strictly on their professional achievements rather than family connections. This careful calibration marks a new chapter in her royal identity. The broader royal family adjusted their expectations accordingly. Princess Anne's children, traditionally peripheral to core royal events, now understand their attendance depends entirely on William's assessment of their public behavior. Cousins who once enjoyed automatic invitations wonder whether casual social media posts might cost them future access. The Windsor incident created a template for William's eventual reign: clear, uncompromising, centered on institutional preservation. Public reaction divided along predictable lines. Traditional monarchy supporters applauded William's firm stance on protocol. They saw his actions as necessary protection of royal dignity against informal creep. Modernizers worried about the monarchy becoming too rigid, too isolated from contemporary British society. The debate continues to rage in media and social circles. Inside the palace, staff morale reflects this split. Longtime employees loyal to the inclusive vision championed by Diana feel William has betrayed her legacy. Newer advisors, including William's carefully selected team, view his approach as essential modernization. The generational divide threatens to reshape palace culture as William's influence grows. Tom's exclusion sent ripples beyond immediate family. Extended relatives questioned long-assumed privileges. Would William apply similar standards to distant cousins? Would charitable patronages face review? Palace sources suggest a comprehensive restructuring awaits, touching every aspect of royal connection and access. The gate incident was merely the prologue. The Christmas gathering approached with trepidation across the royal household. Tom would attend, but under what conditions? Sources reveal William established specific guidelines. No media interviews for 3 months prior, no private conversations with journalists during the holiday, immediate departure if paparazzi appeared near Sandringham. These demands represented a partial victory for both sides, inclusion with severe restrictions. Camilla prepared for this constrained reunion with careful strategizing. She coordinated with Laura Lopes, Tom's sister, to ensure smooth family dynamics. They planned activities that would minimize potential friction while maximizing quality time with grandchildren. The Queen understood this Christmas might determine whether rapprochement remained possible. Palace betting circles wagered on the summit's success. Would William's rigid framework prove sustainable? Could Tom navigate the minefield of restricted access? Early reports suggested guarded optimism. Both men maintained public civility while privately monitoring each other for protocol breaches. Camilla played mediator, walking carefully between maternal instinct and royal obligation. The monarchy emerged from this crisis fundamentally changed. William demonstrated his vision extends beyond traditional notions of royal inclusion. He prioritizes institution over individuals, consistency over compassion. This approach may strengthen the crown's public image, while potentially alienating extended family members accustomed to automatic access. Yet questions linger about the long-term consequences. Can a monarchy focused so intensely on image and protocol maintain relevance in modern Britain? Will William's strict boundaries create more family friction as his father ages? Palace modernizers worry about creating a crown that seems increasingly removed from ordinary human experience. Tom Parker Bowles, for his part, appears to accept his redefined position. His public appearances radiate grace under pressure. He speaks warmly about King Charles when prompted, avoiding controversial topics entirely. This restraint perhaps signals acceptance of William's new order, or merely strategic patience until circumstances change. Only William's eventual reign will reveal whether this accommodation proves sustainable. The Windsor Gate incident crystallized shifting power dynamics within the royal family. William established himself as the arbiter of royal inclusion, superseding even his father's preferences when necessary. This concentration of power suggests his coming reign will diverge sharply from the relatively flexible approach that characterized Charles's early kingship. Queen Camilla's position, once seemingly secure after decades of public rehabilitation, now carries new vulnerabilities. Her children's royal aspirations must align perfectly with William's exacting standards. This precarious balance forces constant vigilance, transform maternal connections into strategic calculations. The personal cost of her queenship has never seemed higher. Media coverage gradually shifted from sensational headlines to deeper analysis of royal power structures. Constitutional experts debated whether William's actions set precedents for future monarchs. Did he expand royal authority over family matters, or merely exercise existing prerogatives more boldly? The academic discussion masked broader unease about what William's kingship might entail. Christmas at Sandringham proceeded with superficial harmony. Tom attended, adhered to restrictions, maintained appropriate decorum. William treated him with polite distance, neither warm nor hostile. Camilla moved between her children and royal duties, careful never to force interactions. The gathering succeeded because all parties recognized the alternative, permanent estrangement, would serve no one's interests. Tom published his cookbook without royal references. Reviews praised culinary expertise, while noting his deliberate avoidance of family connections. This professional compartmentalization reflected lessons learned at Windsor's gates. Success on merit, not royal association, became his public brand. Whether this represented personal growth or bitter necessity remained open to interpretation. The king continued treading carefully between familial peace and institutional demands. He supported William's protocols while maintaining private channels for family reconciliation. Advisors note Charles's strategy, Public backing for the heir combined with quiet preservation of family bonds. This dual approach delayed but didn't eliminate inevitable tensions. As spring approached, preliminary assessments emerged about William's gate decision. Some praised newfound clarity about royal boundaries. Others lamented lost opportunities for modernizing monarchy through inclusive family representation. The debate captured broader anxieties about the institution's future direction, under an uncompromising heir. By late spring, the immediate drama had faded, but structural changes remained. William's approach to royal protocol had won institutional support. Charles accepted the heir's authority, while hoping mature reflection might eventually soften rigid boundaries. Camilla focused her energy on charitable work, finding purpose beyond family politics. The monarchy continued its endless dance between tradition and modernity. The Windsor Gate incident earned its place in royal history. Future biographers will analyze William's decisive action as marking his true assumption of power, before coronation, before official authority, through sheer force of will and strategic planning. The moment encapsulated his conviction that personal relationships must bend to institutional needs. Tom Parker Bowles adapted to his constrained position with unexpected resilience. He built relationships outside royal circles, cultivated his own achievements, demonstrated autonomy from the crown. Whether this independence represents liberation or forced exile remains debatable. His dignified response to exclusion perhaps earned more respect than automatic inclusion ever could. The broader monarchy faced questions about accessibility versus dignity, family warmth versus institutional coldness. William's supporters argued clear boundaries strengthened the crown against modern challenges like media intrusion and public scrutiny. Critics worried about creating a monarchy so removed from human connection, it loses cultural relevance. The eternal royal balancing act continued. As summer bloomed, preliminary reports suggested stabilization within the family. William and Tom maintained cordial distance. Camilla balanced maternal affection with royal responsibility. King Charles preserved overall harmony, while privately hoping eventual maturity might warm relationships. The crisis had redrawn maps of royal connection, rather than destroying them entirely. The charity gala's success provided cover for lasting change. William demonstrated he could execute difficult decisions while maintaining public effectiveness. This dual capacity, personal firmness combined with charitable achievement, suggested his future reign might navigate modern challenges more successfully than critics predicted. The Gate incident became template rather than aberration. The lasting legacy remained ambiguous.
My mother was probably on his radar, so God knows who is, accused everyone else of doing everything horrible.
Whatever it is, everyone has a right to say, we live in thankfully a free country.
And you don't sort of hold your breath and think, oh, please don't get in the way of my mum's.
A single text message illuminated the darkness of Tom Parker Bowles' bedroom in the early hours of that fateful morning. The words on the screen reflected a decision made after decades of silence, a burden finally becoming too heavy to bear. He switched off his phone, placed it face down on the nightstand, and began preparing for the day that would change the monarchy forever. St. James Palace gleamed under the afternoon sun, its historic walls standing witness to centuries of royal triumphs and scandals. Inside, beneath ornate chandeliers and before a sea of diplomatic faces, Queen Camilla approached the podium with practiced grace. Her annual Commonwealth address was being broadcast live to millions across the globe. Palace aides exchanged satisfied nods as she delivered each carefully crafted line with the poise they'd spent months rehearsing. What no one noticed was Tom Parker Bowles, Camilla's 50-year-old son, shifting uncomfortably at the edge of the room. His fingers traced the outline of a worn photograph in his pocket, a faded image of his mother from before the crown, before everything changed. A palace aide glanced his way, noticing the unusual tension in his normally composed demeanor. But Tom's attention remained fixed on his mother. On stage, Camilla continued with practiced charm, her voice steady and authoritative. She faltered almost imperceptibly as she spotted Tom moving toward the stage. Her lifetime of royal training kicked in as she smoothly continued her address, but those closest to her noticed her knuckles whitening around the speech papers. Laura Lopes, Tom's sister, reached for her brother's arm as he passed her seat. The silent exchange between siblings spoke volumes. Her pleading eyes, his resolute expression. Security personnel exchanged confused glances. Protocol dictated immediate intervention for anyone approaching the monarch during an official address. But this was the Queen's son. Their hesitation created the critical window Tom needed. 3 steps from the podium, Camilla locked eyes with her son. In that fleeting moment, the royal mask slipped. Mother and son, not queen and subject, shared a look of recognition, of understanding what was about to unfold. For a split second, Camilla's face softened, revealing a glimpse of regret, perhaps even fear. Then Tom reached for the microphone. The room fell into stunned silence as he firmly pulled it toward himself. Cameras that had been panning across the dignitary-filled room suddenly zoomed in, capturing the unprecedented moment in excruciating detail. Tom's voice, surprisingly steady, filled the hall as he introduced himself and began speaking about the woman behind the crown. Camilla's composure fractured. Her hand trembled as she reached toward her son, uncertainty playing across her features. Was she trying to reclaim the microphone or touch his arm in silent pleading? The ambiguity of that gesture would be analyzed by body language experts for months to come. King Charles half rose from his seat, torn between monarchical protocol and human reaction. Prince William, seated nearby, leaned forward with an unreadable expression. The royal machine, so carefully calibrated for centuries, had no contingency for this family rupture happening on live television. Tom's words flowed with the force of long-suppressed truth, describing how he'd watched his mother transform from the woman who raised him with warmth and honesty into someone he barely recognized, someone willing to sacrifice anything, anyone, for the power she now held. Behind them, palace officials frantically signaled to the broadcast team. The BBC producer's hand hovered over the broadcast delay button but didn't press it. This was historic, unprecedented, the kind of raw moment that defined epochs. Camilla's face had gone pale. The practiced royal smile vanished completely. She looked suddenly older, vulnerable. Her eyes darted to Charles, to her daughter Laura, to the exit doors, assessing escape routes like a cornered animal. Tom's voice softened briefly when addressing his mother directly, acknowledging how he had kept her secrets when the press hounded them, defended her when the world called her the most hated woman in Britain, stood by her through the Diana years. A palace guard finally moved toward the stage, but King Charles subtly raised his hand, stopping the intervention. Whatever was happening, he seemed to recognize it had momentum that couldn't be halted without making everything worse. Tom pulled a folded document from his pocket, referencing evidence of Camilla's involvement in the press campaign against her own family members and the lengths she went to secure her position. Cameras captured the exact moment Camilla recognized the paper. Her composed features collapsed into naked horror. She swayed slightly, gripping the podium for support. Tom continued speaking about family, questioning whose family Camilla had truly been protecting through her actions. In the third row, Laura covered her face with her hands. Her shoulders shook silently. The personal cost of this public moment was etched in her posture. Camilla finally found her voice, whispering directly to her son rather than into the microphone. The intimacy of that single word cut through the grandeur of the room. Tom's face hardened in response to her unheard plea. As Tom turned back to the audience and began to detail the contents of the document, security finally moved in, surrounding both Camilla and Tom. The broadcast cut to the BBC studio, where shell-shocked presenters struggled to make sense of what viewers had just witnessed. But it was too late. Clips were already spreading across social media at lightning speed. Royal meltdown and Camilla exposed became global trending topics within minutes. The emergency meeting in the palace's Privy Council chamber that evening crackled with tension. King Charles sat at the head of the table, his face drawn with exhaustion. Royal advisors and crisis managers filled the seats, their hushed conversations creating a nervous symphony. Reports indicated social media was in complete meltdown, with every news outlet globally leading with the story. Speculation about the contents of the document Tom referenced ran wild. The Queen had been moved to Windsor Castle with doubled security. Tom remained at his London residence, refusing requests to come in for discussions. The Prime Minister, summoned immediately to the palace, raised the constitutional implications. If the allegations implied by the Queen's son proved to have merit, The monarchy itself hung in the balance. Meanwhile, at the Guardian newspaper, editor Emma Daly stared at her computer screen in disbelief. Her encrypted email had just pinged with an attachment, the full document Tom had referenced, sent from an anonymous address with a simple message about the public deserving the complete truth. Her hands shook as she scrolled through the pages. If verified, this would be more than a family squabble. It would be the biggest royal scandal since the abdication crisis of 1936. Tom sat alone in his kitchen, phone turned off, blinds drawn against the gathering press outside. On the table lay childhood photographs, his mother smiling genuinely, before the cameras and protocol had trained her to smile differently. Before ambition had changed everything. A knock on his back door brought his sister Laura, her eyes red-rimmed from crying. Their tense exchange revealed the magnitude of what Tom had started. Reports suggested it could bring down the monarchy, that Charles might have to abdicate if the truth about Camilla's actions became widely known. The siblings debated whether the woman at the podium that day was still the mother they remembered, or someone else entirely. At Windsor Castle, Camilla stood at the window of her private suite, watching rain streak down the ancient glass. After dismissing her anxious lady-in-waiting, she moved to her writing desk and unlocked the bottom drawer with a small key she wore around her neck. From it, she withdrew a weathered journal, entries dating back decades to the earliest days of her relationship with Charles. Her fingers trembled as she turned the pages, scanning her own handwritten confessions from another lifetime. She'd done what was necessary, always, for the crown, for Charles, for herself. The choices had seemed justifiable in the moment, each small compromise, each strategic maneuver. But collected here, written in her own hand, they formed a damning portrait. The sound of helicopter blades cutting through the rain announced Charles's arrival. Camilla closed the journal and returned it to the drawer. She straightened her posture, adjusted her expression. The mask slid back into place with practiced ease. But in the mirror across the room, she caught a glimpse of herself, of the woman her son no longer recognized. For just a moment, neither did she. Within 48 hours, the global impact of Tom's actions became unmistakable. Parliament called an emergency session. Constitutional scholars appeared on endless news programs, debating the monarchy's future. Commonwealth nations issued carefully worded statements, expressing concern and continued monitoring of the situation. The document, now published in redacted form by major newspapers, contained evidence of Camilla's systematic campaign to secure her position. It detailed private investigators hired to gather leverage against rivals, carefully planted stories undermining those who opposed her, and financial arrangements with key media figures to shape public narratives. What made it especially damaging was that it wasn't just about the past. The most recent entries dated to just months earlier, long after she had been crowned queen, when such machinations should have been far behind her. Royal approval ratings, which had been gradually improving since Elizabeth II's death, plummeted overnight. Protesters gathered outside Buckingham Palace with signs demanding transparency and truth before crown loyalty. The crisis exposed deep fractures in public perception of the monarchy. Those who had long harbored suspicions about Camilla's influence found validation in Tom's revelations. Supporters of the late Princess Diana emerged with renewed vigor, seeing in this scandal confirmation of what they had always believed about the woman who had replaced their beloved princess. Younger Britons, already questioning the relevance of the monarchy in modern society, saw in this family drama further evidence that the institution was more soap opera than sacred tradition. Media scrutiny intensified as journalists uncovered additional details about Camilla's path to power. Former palace staff came forward with stories of strategic maneuvering and calculated image management. Several claimed to have witnessed Camilla's transformation from Charles's mistress to his wife to his queen consort, noting how her public persona evolved while her private ambitions remained constant. The royal family's initial response strategy, dignified silence, quickly proved inadequate. By the third day, palace sources began leaking carefully crafted narratives suggesting Tom's actions stemmed from long-standing personal grievances rather than genuine concern for truth or transparency. These attempts at controlling the narrative backfired spectacularly when Tom released additional correspondence showing his repeated attempts to address these issues privately over the years. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle maintained a conspicuous silence from their American home. though royal watchers noted Harry had previously made oblique references to Camilla's media connections in his memoir. Their absence from the fray spoke volumes, especially when contrasted with Prince William's active involvement in crisis management at the palace. On the fifth day, a startling revelation emerged. Camilla had maintained a private email account through which she had communicated with media executives and public relations specialists as recently as the previous month. These communications, excerpted anonymously through social media, showed her actively shaping coverage of other royal family members, including strategic undermining of anyone perceived as a threat to her position. Public opinion polarized further. Royalists defended Camilla as a woman who had navigated the treacherous waters of public life with the tools available to her. Critics saw in her actions the corruption of an institution that claimed moral authority while functioning like any other power structure, through manipulation, strategic alliances, and the occasional sacrifice of truth. 1 week after the broadcast, Tom received an unexpected visitor. A royal car pulled up to his house, drawing excited murmurs from the journalists still camped outside. Prince William walked up the path alone, without visible security. The future king entered the home of the man who might have destroyed the institution he would one day inherit. Their meeting lasted over 2 hours. No details emerged immediately, but palace sources later indicated William had come not as an emissary of the current king and queen, but as the future of the monarchy, seeking to understand the full scope of the situation he would eventually inherit. That evening, William was spotted entering Kensington Palace with a copy of the document in his hand, his expression grave. Political analysts noted that this separate action by the heir apparent suggested a possible fracturing of the royal response, perhaps even the beginning of a transition of power that would bypass Camilla entirely. As the crisis entered its second week, parliamentary discussions intensified. The role of the monarchy in contemporary British society became the subject of earnest debate, with several MPs suggesting the time had come for a modern constitutional convention to reconsider the crown's role, powers, and limitations. Then came the stunning palace announcement. Queen Camilla would address the nation alone, without prepared remarks or advisors present. The unprecedented broadcast would air live, with no delay or editing. The night of the broadcast, the world watched as Camilla appeared on screen. Gone was the formal attire, the carefully styled hair, the practiced royal demeanor. She sat simply dressed, without her crown or royal insignia. Her address was remarkable for its candor. She spoke not as a queen, but as a mother who had hurt her children, as a woman who had made choices. Some she stood by, others she deeply regretted. She acknowledged the document contained truths she had avoided confronting publicly. While some allegations had been exaggerated in reporting, she admitted the core remained accurate. She had done what she believed necessary to protect her position, her future, and her ambition. Across Britain, families fell silent before their screens. In pubs, conversations hushed. This was history unfolding in real time. Camilla acknowledged she could not undo these actions, only recognized their impact on her children, on the monarchy, and on public trust in the crown. Her gaze into the camera became more direct, the polish falling away completely as she addressed her children. She acknowledged their childhoods had been sacrificed for her choices, recognizing too late the weight they had carried. In his London home, Tom watched with his sister beside him, their hands clasped tightly together as their mother spoke to them through the screen. Through the millions of viewers witnessing this extraordinary moment, Camilla concluded by admitting she had failed the standard to which she should be held. She announced upcoming meetings with the King and Prime Minister to discuss the appropriate path forward. The unspoken implication hung heavy. Abdication, a stepping back, some form of royal penance. Her final words echoed the protesters' chants, "Truth before crown. It should always have been thus." The broadcast ended, leaving Britain and the world to grapple with a monarchy forever changed by one son's courage, one mother's confession, and the power of long-buried truths finally brought to light. The royal family, that seemingly impenetrable institution, had been revealed as fundamentally human, with all the flaws and fractures that humanity entails. Whether the monarchy could survive such humanization remained an open question, one that would shape British identity for generations to come.
I'd just like to say that Carol and I are absolutely delighted by today's announcement and thrilled at the prospect of a wedding sometime next year.
Carol Middleton and her husband Michael always looked like the perfect couple. They were together for a long time, smiling at events, standing quietly behind their daughter Kate as she married into the royal family. Everything seemed calm, happy, and normal. But now, something big has changed. Carol and Michael are no longer together. They've ended their marriage. At first, no one noticed. They stayed quiet, kept smiling in public, and didn't say a word. But behind closed doors, things weren't so perfect. Something was going wrong for a long time, and now the truth is starting to come out. And it's not just a small reason. They didn't break up over something silly. It's actually really sad, and it says a lot about the pressure they've been under. Being connected to royalty isn't always a fairy tale. There are heavy expectations, lots of attention, and people always watching your every move. Carol had to carry a lot of weight on her shoulders, not just for herself, but for her whole family. Somewhere along the way, things started to fall apart. This story isn't just about two people splitting up. It's about what really happens behind the scenes, when the cameras are off and the pressure doesn't stop. And now, the reason for their divorce is finally coming to light, and it's worse than anyone thought. Carol and Michael Middleton's early romance, marriage in 1980. Carol and Michael Middleton's story began like many others. Two people meeting, falling in love, and building a life together. Michael, a former airline pilot, and Carol, who worked as a stewardess, crossed paths during the early 1970s. The couple was not born into royalty or wealth, but they found a connection in one another. Their relationship quickly grew, and by 1980, they were married. It was a modest wedding, but the start of a union that would eventually be closely tied to the British royal family. Michael and Carol were not high-profile people at the time, but they shared an ambition to work hard and build something together. Both were from ordinary backgrounds, and this helped them stay grounded. The couple's story became part of the fairy tale of ordinary people making it big, with a twist that would later turn their family into a major figure in the public eye. In the years following their marriage, Carol and Michael launched Party Pieces, a mail-order party supply business that would become their family's main source of income. What started as a small idea blossomed into a nationwide enterprise, helping the family move from modest means to becoming well-known figures in business circles. Carol worked tirelessly alongside Michael, and their company's success was built on their determination, creativity, and the ability to tap into a growing market of families looking to celebrate birthdays and other special occasions in style. Their children, Catherine, Kate, Pippa, and James, grew up surrounded by the hustle of a growing business. Carol and Michael did everything they could to support their children's dreams. They sent Kate to St. Andrews University, where she would later meet Prince William, and made sure their children were given opportunities they never had. As the Middleton children's success grew, so did their parents' reputation. Carol became known for her dedication to her family and business, while Michael's quiet, reserved nature earned him the role of supportive patriarch. The public viewed the Middletons as a stable, loving, and incredibly supportive family. There was something deeply charming about how the family worked together to build success, and they quickly became media darlings. When Kate's relationship with Prince William blossomed into a marriage in 2011, the Middleton family's ties to the royal family made them even more of a focus in the media. Their business success, balanced with their family's public appearances, made them appear like the picture-perfect family. To the outside world, the Middletons represented the ideal family. Carol and Michael were always seen as loving, devoted parents. Their children, especially Kate, were incredibly successful and admired for their poise and grace, traits that seemed to come directly from their upbringing. The family appeared to be deeply involved in each other's lives, always showing up for each other at important events, even after Kate married into the royal family. The Middletons quickly became the kind of family that people looked up to. They weren't aristocrats or celebrities, but their story of hard work, success, and love for each other resonated with the public. With Kate becoming a prominent member of the royal family, the Middletons' close-knit dynamic only became more appealing. They represented something relatable, something that everyone could understand, a family that had grown from humble beginnings to achieving great things together. This image of harmony and unity was something that Carol and Michael proudly showcased, and it became a key part of their public image. Carol and Michael Middleton made many public appearances together, whether at family gatherings, vacations, or events involving Kate, Pippa, and James. They always came across as incredibly united. The family seemed to make an effort to be present at important moments, which only served to further solidify the idea of them being a strong, cohesive unit. Joint vacations were often shared with the public through photos, and each snapshot added to the narrative that the Middletons were a model of family values. From trips to the countryside to public celebrations, their moments together painted a picture of harmony. These public outings, often captured by the press, helped shape the perception of a family that was supportive, grounded, and unbreakably strong. Little did anyone know, behind the smiles and cheerful appearances, cracks were beginning to form. The business troubles. Carol and Michael's business, Party Pieces, had once been the epitome of success. They were the go-to company for party supplies in the UK, and their business allowed them to live a comfortable, prosperous life. But as the years went on, the business started to face difficulties. The market for party supplies changed, online retail boomed, and Party Pieces struggled to keep up with the evolving demands. By 2023, after decades of success, the company had collapsed. The collapse of Party Pieces wasn't just a financial blow, it was deeply personal. For Carol, who had poured so much of her energy and passion into the business, it was a painful reminder of how quickly things could change. What had once been a symbol of the Middleton family's success and hard work now represented failure and hardship. As the business struggled, reports began to emerge about mounting debts. Suppliers were allegedly left unpaid, and financial mismanagement seemed to have played a part in the company's downfall. These issues were kept largely under wraps at first, but as more details came to light, it was clear that Party Pieces was in serious financial trouble. The public's perception of the Middletons shifted. No longer were they seen as the ultimate success story, they were now facing financial ruin. The Middletons had always been open about their work ethic and their commitment to their family, but the mounting debts revealed a different side to their lives. The collapse of Party Pieces wasn't just about business failure. It was about the emotional strain it placed on the family. The pressure of keeping up appearances while struggling to maintain the business was undoubtedly taking its toll. As the financial strain grew, reports surfaced that Michael Middleton had detached himself from the business earlier than Carol. Some sources claimed that Michael had taken a step back from the day-to-day running of Party Pieces, leaving Carol to deal with the pressures on her own. This only added to the speculation that the couple's marriage was beginning to show signs of strain. Michael's decision to step back may have been an attempt to protect his family from the stress of the business, but it was seen by some as him abandoning Carol at a time when she needed support the most. As the financial troubles deepened, it was clear that the divide between Carol and Michael was becoming more pronounced. Despite Michael's alleged detachment, Carol remained heavily involved in the company's decision-making. Reports suggested that Carol continued to push forward with plans, attempting to save the business from its downward spiral. Her resilience and determination were admirable, but they also placed a huge emotional burden on her. The stress of trying to save Party Pieces while managing her personal life became overwhelming. This was not just a business failing, it was a personal one. The collapse of Party Pieces signified much more than a financial setback. It marked the beginning of a challenging chapter in the Middleton family's life. Impact on marriage. Financial stress as a common relationship. Strain. Financial stress is a common strain on marriages, and it's not hard to see how the troubles at Party Pieces could have affected Carol and Michael's relationship. The weight of mounting debts, failed business plans, and the emotional toll of trying to keep everything together likely caused tensions between the couple. What was once a supportive, united front began to crack under the pressure. The couple's private lives, once a symbol of unity, were now becoming more public and vulnerable. The stress of the business likely contributed to their growing emotional distance, leaving Carol to face many of the challenges alone. As the business failed, the media began to speculate about the state of Carol and Michael's marriage. Tabloids quickly spun the story as one of personal conflict, a marriage on the rocks, unable to survive the financial strain. Every joint appearance, or lack thereof, was dissected, with the press often jumping to conclusions about the couple's relationship. The once strong family image began to crack under the weight of the rumors. The divorce rumors. It wasn't long before whispers about a potential divorce began circulating. The first signs came in the form of tabloid reports and anonymous sources hinting at growing tensions between Carol and Michael. Rumors were initially dismissed as speculation, but they began to grow louder over time. The absence of Michael in public events, especially after the party piece's collapse, fueled these rumors even further. Social media played a huge role in spreading the divorce gossip. Fans of the Middleton family started to notice the couple's increasing distance from one another and began discussing it online. What had once been a united front now seemed fractured. The press quickly picked up on these stories, pushing the idea of a split. If you want to stay updated on stories like this, ones that reveal what's really going on behind closed doors, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the bell so you don't miss what's coming next.
Refer to your brother as your beloved brother and arch nemesis. Strong words.
There has always been this competition between us, weirdly.
Time, Prince Harry has kept a big secret. It's not about the crown or all the attention they get from the press. No, this secret is much closer to home. It's about his brother, Prince William, and why Harry felt he had to protect him from the world. Imagine growing up with someone so close to you, but having to keep things hidden from everyone. That's what Harry did for years. He didn't talk about his brother's struggles, the things they went through together, or the difficult moments they shared. But now, Harry is finally ready to tell the story. It wasn't just about being loyal to his family. It wasn't just about protecting his brother from the spotlight. There was something much deeper going on, something that no one really understood. And the truth behind it? It's going to make you see the royal family in a whole new light. Harry's ready to share the hidden side of his life, and it's far from what the world expected. This isn't just about two brothers. It's about everything that has stayed out of view for all these years. And now, the truth is coming out, revealing the kind of pressure and pain Harry faced to protect his family. Harry's claims about keeping his brother a secret prince. Harry's memoir, Spare, has been the center of intense media attention since its release. In the book, Harry opens up about his life in the royal family, his relationship with his brother William, and the emotional struggles he faced growing up in the spotlight. One of the most striking revelations is Harry's claim that he had to keep his brother a secret. But what exactly did Harry mean by this? And why would he feel the need to do so? Harry's comments about keeping his brother a secret go beyond just maintaining privacy. They reveal a complex dynamic between the brothers, one that was shaped by both family loyalty and the constant pressure of royal life. To understand why Harry would say such a thing, we need to dive deeper into his memoir and explore what led him to feel the need to protect his brother, William, in this way. In Spare, Harry doesn't hold back on his feelings and the experiences he faced throughout his life as a royal. He talks about the expectations placed on him from an early age, especially as the younger brother to Prince William, who was destined to become the King of England. This dynamic meant that Harry often found himself in a supporting role, always second in line. One of the most striking parts of the book is when Harry describes how, despite their shared experiences and upbringing, he and William's relationship became strained. Harry reveals that, at certain points in their lives, he had to keep his brother a secret. So, what did Harry mean by this? Did he literally hide aspects of their relationship? Or was it a metaphor for the way their relationship was managed under the watchful eyes of the public and the media? Harry's comments about keeping certain things about William a secret. When Harry says that he had to keep his brother a secret, he isn't implying that he physically hid William or kept their relationship under wraps. Instead, Harry reflects on the many ways he had to protect his brother's image. As a royal, there were constant pressures to maintain an idealized public image, one that portrayed unity, loyalty, and strength. Harry explains that part of this meant shielding William from any personal struggles or tensions within the royal family. Harry writes in his memoir about how he sometimes found himself acting as though everything was fine when, in reality, he was struggling with the way his relationship with William was evolving. He had to keep up appearances, not just for the public, but also for his family. If there were issues or tensions between them, they were never discussed openly. Instead, Harry had to keep those moments to himself, maintaining the facade of a close, united family. This notion of keeping things secret isn't about hiding things maliciously, but more about managing the image of the family to meet royal expectations. It's as if Harry was forced to play a role, not just for his own benefit, but for his brothers too. By doing so, Harry protected William from scrutiny, even if it meant hiding his own feelings of isolation and frustration. At the heart of this claim is the question: was Harry keeping his brother a secret because he wanted to protect William's privacy? Or was it more about preserving the royal family's image? To answer this, we need to look at both possibilities. On one hand, Harry could have been trying to protect William's privacy. The royal family, despite their public lives, also deserve moments of personal space. As the future king, William had a lot of pressure on him. Harry, in his book, mentions how William was often caught between his duty to the crown and his personal desires. By keeping certain things about William's life a secret, Harry could have been shielding him from the constant scrutiny of the public eye. On the other hand, there is also the possibility that Harry's motivation was to maintain the image of a perfect, unified family. Royals, especially in Harry and William's generation, were expected to show no weakness. They were expected to be role models and symbols of stability. If Harry revealed any cracks in their relationship, it might have caused a public uproar, leading to negative press and damaging the royal family's reputation. In this sense, Harry might have felt the pressure not just to protect his brother, but to maintain the royal image that the world expected.